Hello lovely people, my name is Emma and today I'm going to be doing a 5-star predictions video, but specifically for some of the non-fiction on my shelves. So back in January time, maybe February, I did a 5-star predictions video for my fiction and I'm slowly working my way through that list. I think I have 3 more left to do. I had 10 in total, so I will eventually, probably in the next like 2 months, do a wrap up about how that went. But this year I've been really prioritising reading non-fiction, and my goal is to read 20 throughout the year. I think I'm on like 13 or 14 now, and a surprising number of them have been 5-star reads. And I was realising just how much, like, when I pick non-fiction properly and I pick something that I think I'm going to enjoy, more often than not it comes out as being like a new all-time favourite, or at least a 5-star read. So given this, I thought it'd be interesting to have a quick scan through the non-fiction on my shelves, of which there is now quite a lot. I have been amassing a fair amount this year, and try and make some predictions as to what I think is going to be 5 stars. So that's what this is today. This is a video of 10 books that I think I'm going to give 5 stars to. Some of them I physically have in front of me, and then other ones I haven't bought yet, but I wanted to include them because I plan to buy them quite soon. The first one on the list is Why Dinosaurs Matter by Kenneth Lacovara. So this is, I think, going to be a 5-star because, one, it's kind of sponsored or promoted by TED. It's in the TED Talks, and I generally quite enjoy TED Talks, so I think that's going to go quite well. I love most things linked to dinosaurs, let's be honest. I'm a little bit obsessed with them, so generally I tend to be a little bit more kind of favouring of these books. This is, as the title suggests, it's a book about dinosaurs. Like, I didn't think I needed to go into much detail. It really does what it says on the tin here. And also I have Kenneth Lacovara on Twitter, and I really like his writing style about how he conveys information on there, so I'm fairly confident, whilst obviously it's difficult to extrapolate from a tweet to an entire book, I am fairly confident that I'm going to enjoy this one. That is rude. I'm trying to film here, bruh. I'm quite confident that I'm going to enjoy this enough to give it 5 stars. So yes, this is my first prediction. The next one on my list is Desperate Romantics by Franny Moyle. So this is about the private lives of the Pre-Raphaelites, who were a group of artists who were in the late Victorian era, and generally I'm absolutely fascinated by them as like a collective. They're really considered kind of the very, very early beginnings of what we'd now consider to be modern art today. If you can kind of go back when people were really starting to play around with the form of colours and like subject matter and all sorts of exciting things like that. I absolutely adored the BBC miniseries on them. I absolutely loved the historical fiction I read recently that was about them. So I am fairly confident that, again, similar with the dinosaurs, if it's a book that contains them, I'm gonna look at it quite favourably. This one, I have had my eye out for a Pre-Raphaelite book now for about 6 months, just kind of as I've been in shops, and whilst I've seen quite a few, there's been something about them that has put me off buying it, whereas this is one, because it really focuses on their private lives, that I decided that I actually wanted to spend my money on and buy. So the fact that I've been so selective in picking one up to this point, and that this one has made the cut, means that I'm quite confident that I have really thought about this selection, and that this is exactly the book that I'm looking for when it comes to what I want to know about the Pre-Raphaelites, because it is their private lives that I find so interesting, because they really were a fabulously flamboyant, interesting collection of people who really were pushing the boat out for like the art community in the time. So whilst I love their work, I know a decent amount about their work, and I want to know more about them and their relationships, so I think this is going to be perfect. In a similar vein, I have In Montparnasse. Damn, that was a terrible French pronunciation there. This is The Emergence of Surrealism in Paris, from Duchamp to Dali. And again, similar to the Pre-Raphaelites, this is an era that I'm really interested in. I have generally enjoyed pretty much every art history book I've read so far, so I'm fairly confident that this one, again, is going to be a 5-star review. This is the side of, the author has another, sorry I didn't tell you the author, it's Sue Rowe. The author has another book which is it's in somewhere else, but it's somewhere around Paris, and it's focused on like Picasso and the Cubism movement, I think, whereas this one I'm more interested in surrealism. So again, I looked at her other book, I've been pondering it for a while, and then when this one came out I was like, okay, that's the one that I want. Of the two, that's the one that I'm more confident I'm going to enjoy. So hopefully this is going to end up being a 5-star, but it is focused on specifically the artists that pioneered the surrealist movement. Then I have a book that's been on my shelves for a while now, so I really want to get to it soon. It's Never Enough by Judith Grisel. This is actually on my October TBR. Hopefully I'm going to get to it, fingers crossed, this month, and it's about the neuroscience and experience of addiction. And this was a birthday present from my brother for me, and it, as the name suggests, it's looking all about addiction. And what's really interesting about it is Judith Grisel was actually an addict herself, and so I think it's going to be really an excellent and interesting look into this world, because she has both the science background to be able to explain a lot of it, but also she has experienced it, so we're going to get a lot more of that kind of own voice look into it. She has a really lovely writing style. I briefly read the introduction like in the car when I first got this. I picked it up from the post office and was really enjoying it, so I think it's going to be a good one. And it's actually not too long for non-fiction, which is quite nice, because I have some very hefty tomes on my shelves and they're quite intimidating, and I think they're too long to be confident of a 5-star review, whereas I think this one could be the perfect length for non-fiction for me. Then we have The Man Who Loved Books Too Much by Alison Hoover Bartlett. This is the true story of a thief, a detective, and a world of literary obsession. Basically, it's about a guy who stole a bunch of rare books, and then the detective who was tasked with his case to track him down. And this honestly sounds like Catch Me If You Can meets books. And like, I love the movie Catch Me If You Can. I love books. I see no reason why this can't be the perfect combination. The only thing that I think will potentially hold it up is the author's writing style. I don't know how Alison Hoover Bartlett writes yet, but I think subject matter wise this just sounds so perfect. So the only thing that will stop it from being a 5-star read is if I don't personally get along with how she tells this story. But story wise, we might have a perfect storm here. This could be the ultimate book. Then I have Down Girl, The Logic of Misogyny by Kate Main, or Mann? Main? There's an E on the end. I'm hoping this one's going to be a 5-star read. I feel like, so I've read a fair amount of feminist texts in the past. I studied it at university for one of my modules. I did a bunch of coursework on it. Like the whole concept in general. So I have read a decent amount out there, but I've not read anything in a while. And again, I'm quietly hopeful that this might be the book to pull me back into the topic in general. A lot has happened in feminism, and a lot is always happening in feminism, even in the past few years since I graduated, but that also means that there's been a bit of a boom of books that are very anecdotal and not very focused on like real statistical studies and evidence. And I'm really hoping that this one will be a bit more rigorous and intense in its portrayal and in its discussion of misogyny, rather than some of the more anecdotal, almost pop feminism books that are now out there on the shelves. So because of this, I'm quietly hopeful that this will be the intensity that I'm looking for in my next feminist text, and so therefore I will give it 5 stars. So that's my logic behind this one. And then I very recently bought this. You guys haven't seen it on my channel yet. We're very excited. It arrived yesterday. This is The Professor and the Madman by Simon Winchester. It's a tale of murder, insanity, and the making of the Oxford English Dictionary. Now, this one is mainly based off of a recommendation, and this is Olive from a book. Olive's one of her favourite non-fictions out there. Again, it's kind of one of those perfect storms. It's a thrillery kind of thing, still related to books. I love how many thrillers about books I now have on my shelves. So again, I am quietly hopeful that this will be a perfect storm situation of something really interesting, combining two kind of loves of like words and an exciting tale, basically. And again, I really do follow a lot of Olive's advice. I value her recommendations very highly. I think that we have quite similar reading tastes in a lot of ways. So when she says a non-fiction's good, it often means I'm going to enjoy it. I have one more that I have in both ebook form, I think, and I definitely have the audiobook of it, and that's The Road to Wigan Pier by George Orwell. This is a true account of his working class background growing up, I think, in the north of England. No, in Wigan, you idiot. It's called Road to Wigan Pier. In Wigan! So basically, the reason why I think this is going to be a 5-star is because I have immensely enjoyed George Orwell's writing in the past. I loved 1984 and Animal Farm. I've not read any of his other fiction yet, but the thing that I really loved about them was the writing style. I think his command of words is just incredible. So I'm hoping that this will translate into his non-fiction as well. And I don't generally tend to read many memoirs, so when I decide to pick up a memoir, it's normally because, again, I've put enough thought and energy into like which one I want to read. So it normally ends up being a good experience for me because I don't read many of them. Having been burned a lot in the past, I'm now very cautious about what memoirs and biographies and autobiographies I approach. So I'm quietly hoping hopeful that this is going to be a really good one from him. And now I have 2 more to mention that basically I haven't actually got around to buying yet, but I wanted to mention them in this video because I'm definitely going to get them at some point in the next few months. They're ones that are quite high on my radar. The first one is Working Stiff. I'll put the cover here. I'm sorry, I don't have the authors written down on my list in my bullet journal, but basically this is the account of a coroner or medical examiner. Fucking motorbikes everywhere. And this is detailing kind of, again, a memoir of their cases and their time working for here. I really like books about medicine and the medical community, and I also really enjoy books about death and dead bodies. Weirdly enough, Caitlin Doughty is one of my favourite authors. Just read Stiff, which is about human cadavers by Mary Roach. So again, I really think this is going to be just a subject matter that I generally look upon very favourably and find really interesting. I love history of medicine. I find the human body just so fascinating and cool, and the amount that we know about it is amazing. So I think this one is going to be really solid for me as a 5-star prediction. The big thing, again, like with so many of these, is like, I think subject matter wise I've picked a really good one that I'm going to enjoy. It's just whether I get on with the author's writing style, so we'll find out. And then the final one is The Curse of Oak Island, and this just sounds like too cool to not enjoy. Like, this is one of those like crazier than truth kind of crazier than fiction kind of books, and it's about this island called Oak Island, which there's supposed to be a treasure on it, but it's every time somebody is attempted to go and get it or try and find it or anything like that, some kind of disaster has fallen upon them, and there's this like rumoured curse around it. I will link, again, the picture should be here. I'll let you know the author down below, but this one just looks really exciting and interesting, and I think it's just going to be such a fun romp that it's going to be so hard to not have a good time with it that I'm probably going to give it 5 stars. So that's it for me. These are just some 5-star predictions from my bookshelves. Hopefully I will get through these in the next year or so and be able to check back in with you and let you know. I am planning on getting to a few of these in Non-Fiction November, which is next month. It's an amazing readathon where we all just read as much non-fiction as we can, or like more than you normally would. So if that's none, then you read 1. If it's a lot, then you read even more. And I will link Olive's original announcement video down below. It's great fun. It happens the whole of November. Come join us, it's gonna be great. But yeah, so that's it from me. Have a wonderful reading week, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye.